What's your story? What's your sign? It's like we're twin flames in a different life. Deep connection lights a spark. It's like you know me in the depths of my heart. We're dreamers. Don't care what other people say. We're living like this could be our final day. We're dreamers. Don't care what the others say. We're doing this in our own way. We come alive in the nighttime. It's something about how we dance in the moonlight. That look in your eyes, it tells me that you want me and all my loving. We come alive in the nighttime. You and I, we come alive. We come alive.
Hi guys, and welcome to today's video, which is long overdue. I'm really sorry I didn't get anything out last week. It's been a bit sort of hectic getting the bits we needed to get done on the new lorry before my dad went on holiday. So we were rushing around and some very early starts and very late evenings. And I was also trying to fit in, obviously, getting Bo ridden and trying to get him fit so we can actually get out to some competitions. The reason that we were sort of pushing to get it done, obviously my dad was going on holiday last Friday, and I've actually got a lesson this Friday, so we really wanted to sort of get the new box so I could take it to lessons rather than first time out being to a competition, which I'm stressed for anyway, without the added stress of a new vehicle. I have sort of driven it around the yard and well backwards and forwards, and it is different to what I'm used to. She's a little bit more sensitive, so I just got to be a bit lighter footage, shall we say. So I'm hoping to have a couple of sort of test runs, hopefully one tonight and then either tomorrow night or Thursday, to sort of get a little bit of the handle on her, and also I need to put some fuel in, and I don't really want to. Our fuel station is quite tricky anyway because we come straight back out onto a dual carriageway. And we're on, I think our lessons at 2:30, so the road's going to be quite busy on a Friday. So we want to get fuel without the horse on. I don't think Bo needs that stress, and I certainly don't either. Yes, so I'm going to give you a sort of a bit of a tour around our new box and also the comparison with the old one, which is still here with us. She will be going up for sale shortly. There's no sort of drastic reason why we've had to or why we've chosen to change. It was more a case of my friend who owned this lorry previously. She had to go for one without a tap locker in the horse section to safely travel her horse. Unfortunately, he does like to try and clamber on the tap locker. He's so big, he just literally lifts his leg up. So she's now got one without a tap locker. So I kind of sort of said to my husband, "Oh, my friend's lorry's going up for sale. What do you think? Do you think it's worth a bit of do we need an upgrade?" And not really thinking anything of it, but we did decide to go and have a bit of a look at it. I've been on it many times, but never with the sort of idea of perhaps owning it. So yeah, we went and had a look. There were a few things that we knew straight away that we actually were going to need to do, but I don't know if I've mentioned before, my dad is the king of DIY. He is fantastic at it. I think he's sort of done up every house we've ever owned. He's done at least sort of 3 horse boxes, getting them sort of to my standards. My standards are probably a bit too high, but I blame my parents for that. So yeah, they're to blame. Dad on this sort of structure and that sort of thing, and my mum definitely on like furnishings and everything matching. So they've only got themselves to blame for me being like I am. So yes, so I did take my dad to have a look at it, and he definitely thought there was some really sort of good sort of points that would certainly be worth us sort of having a bit of an upgrade. And it wasn't just the colour, although yeah, that kind of for me did have a little bit. I love her colour scheme with the blue, black and the silver, particularly the blue. It's my favourite colour, blue. I've always admired this lorry, and that wasn't just the reason, but there's some really good sort of advantages to it, and we have done a few sort of changes to suit myself and Bo, and then we've also got a few other things planned now. Obviously, buying any Horsebox or any vehicle or anything, it's always a bit of a gamble, and sometimes it's not until you start sort of peeling away the layers, shall we say, that you sort of start to sort of find things that you wouldn't necessarily have found without sort of digging around. So I will go into sort of bits that we've done and also bits that we've still got to do. But like I say, we weren't really, it was definitely not on the cards. It's a project that's come completely out of nowhere. Like I said, my dad's we used to have a motorhome, which is where our old one's parked at the moment. Good job that isn't here now, otherwise parking would be very tight. So he did a lot of work on that, and I think he quite enjoys having a bit of a project, and I've really enjoyed doing bits alongside my dad, trying to get him to sort of let me do a little bit more is tricky sometimes. I think he worries about me using certain tools. I was allowed nowhere near the angle grinder, but I was allowed to use the drill, and I've carried on doing a few bits now that he's away. Although now the priority is obviously getting Bo exercised and get him out to this lesson, then start looking for some competitions as well. So yes, our old box, bless her. Yeah, I love her to bits. Like I say, we weren't thinking of actually actively thinking of changing. But yeah, I think I'm a little bit apprehensive about driving the new one, I must admit. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss the old girl. Yeah, her living is slightly bigger, but we decided that actually now, particularly with having Buck, we needed to prioritise the horse section, so we needed the bigger horse section. Right. Okay, right. Let's go on board, and I'll show you the sort of layout, and then go into sort of some details of what we've done and what we are gonna hopefully do shortly. So before I show you guys on the lorry, just go round this side and show you the main reason for upgrading to this one. Like I say, it's not just the colour. Is the fact that if I can do this one-handed, these are slightly different locks than I'm used to. Okay, make sure I don't fall on my head. It's got underfloor storage. Don't know if you can see in there, it's quite dark. I haven't got the batteries on, so I can't put the lights on, but there are some lights. But fully underneath the living is underfloor storage, so I can put my haylage in there, which is going to be fantastic for stayaways, because normally we have to pile everything in the living when we had Top Cat coming with us, because normally you used to go where Top Cat travelled, all the haylage, and I used to tie it down back there. But now we can put it under the floor here. Hopefully they'll fit. My friend has had haylage in there in the past, but it's other things like we take chairs, the sort of stable kit that we take, the drapes and things, everything like that can store in here, which is going to be a fantastic bonus. I'm really sort of looking forward to using it, hopefully not completely filling it up, because we've got to watch weight, obviously. But yes, that is, yeah, really looking forward to that. So that's one of the main sort of reasons, is the storage capabilities on this are so much better, and also the horse section is the other sort of big thing. Now, not long after we bought her, or actually my friend drove her down very gratefully, so not long after that we did have a storm, and unfortunately we did find that water was getting into the living through the windows. So my dad did get up and wax some sealant around them, but we are thinking we're probably going to have to take them out and rebed them properly on some sealant in the summer, but unfortunately that was quite a big job. We couldn't do that before he went away. So what we've actually done, I don't know if you can see that black line sort of running along just underneath the roof, is actually self-adhesive guttering for motorhomes. So we've stuck that on and we're hoping that's going to stay. I did also add an additional bit right over the windows and also on the other side to hopefully try and throw the water off. The roof one is definitely helping. Also on the other side when it's parked as it is at the moment, because the water running off the roof is going that way. So sometimes it does depend on how the vehicles lie and which way the water goes. So yeah, that's how we sort of noticed that we had a few leaks, unfortunately. Now, because obviously water had been sort of getting in, we found that in here the original floor was quite wet. Well, I say it had been repaired, actually. It's a bit unfair, but it was still quite wet. So what we've done is actually replace it with something called phenolic board or buffalo board, which I've actually got a tiny little bit here. So this is 18 mil. I think it's 12 in the underfloor there, but as you can see, it's made up of lots of different layers, and it's also got these two sort of coatings to it which make it really hard wearing and quite sort of weather resistant. We've used it quite a lot on horse boxes and find that it works really well. It used to be what we used to use on the floor before, like aluminium planking, and this one has got an aluminium plank floor. It was done not that long ago, so I know the floor is 100% sound. And obviously the human section isn't quite such a big priority, shall we say. The horses is always the top concern. So yes, we did have to replace the floor there and also the living floor, which I will show in a minute. But we're hoping we've now stopped any water ingress as much as we can. Unfortunately, water does tend to find a way. The Luton windows had previously been sealed, so now I'm going to go on board. The doorway is a lot wider than our old box, and you can probably notice it's a lot lighter. It's a bit more modern. Obviously it was converted, I don't know when ours was converted actually. We always thought it was converted not long after it was actually, the chassis was built, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But this one is definitely more modern, a lot younger. It's a lot lighter. Ours, I would say, a bit more homely. I don't know. I say ours because obviously this one's ours as well now. Yes, so we were having a little bit of water ingress around the window, so like I said, we're probably going to have to rebed them. What it did mean is if I move these cushions, now the main reason that we found all this, although we could see the water was coming in a little bit, was when it had its hydraulic ramp fitted, the company that did it decided to take away the water tank. So it wasn't until my poor friend was getting ready for a competition, went to put the water in the tank, found out that there was no tank. So they'd removed the tank, and now we've also found that they've actually removed the water pump. So the first job we knew we had to do was fit a new water tank. When the decision was made that we'd actually put it in one of the lockers underneath the seats. So this is a 70 litre water tank which we were going to fit. So we've got a new tank. There's no Haribos in there, I don't think, unless that's Dad's secret stash. But yes, unfortunately, when we went to we removed the seats and went to sort of look where the water tank goes, and we suddenly found that the floor was quite weak right up against the wall. The walls seemed really, really solid, which is great, which is absolutely fantastic. But the advantage of this one perhaps over our older box is that it has an aluminium skin, which means my dad can quite happily work back towards the outer skin if we found any places that is necessary, which is great. But yes, water had been sort of getting down between the sort of nice plywood finish there and then the sort of, it's not the outer skin of the box, but the sort of the internal structure, shall we say, of the box, and then getting down, and it was the floors that had suffered, and that's how we then found that the underfloor storage was also suffered a bit. So a decision was made, because we had a hole here from cutting out the required size of board, that we would do the underfloor because we had easier access at that time. So yes, as you can see, there is a very different colour piece of board in there. The plan is then to put laminate flooring down over the top. This actual flooring here is vinyl, so we're going to use that as a bit of the underlay for the laminate. We also think the laminate will give the floor a little bit more rigidity. So it's 12mm they've used on this sort of type of the floor, whereas the lower sort of section here is 18mm, and it would have been 18mm back through for the horses as well, but obviously that's been changed to aluminium. There was a black sheet of rubber fitted here, and I decided that to replace it, but what I didn't realise really until I started pulling up is how well it was stuck down. I think it took me 2 hours just to gradually lever it away from the glue. Whatever glue they used was fantastic because it's still holding strong. And then I've put this, I think they're like gym mats, but with like a wood effect down instead. So yeah, those mats came from B&Q. I've never made so many trips to B&Q. It's quite fascinating, really. I even made my own water tank for soaking my hay. That I got a storage container from there. Right, so now the horse section. I definitely think it is bigger, but also it just feels bigger and a bit more airy. There's a lot more glass, so hopefully Bo leaves it all intact. And it does also have some ventilation in the roof, which I think Bo would definitely benefit from. So it feels a lot lighter in here, and I'm hoping that really will help sort of Bo with his travelling. The tap locker has this checker plate pattern at the moment, metal. Ours was the same underneath there, and we put rubber on top, so we might do that there. One of the we've made quite a few sort of changes in here, and one of those being that I've had a captivated track fitted. My dad pre-drilled the holes for me, and then I fitted this on Saturday, so hopefully it'll hold. It's well screwed in, obviously not right through. That was my main concern when I was doing it. So this gives me a lot of variation where I tie things up. I had quite a lot of tie-up points on the other one, but they never were quite where I wanted them for certain things. So we've also got a secondary bit at the top, because I tend to tie them up off those, and these hay nets will go off these lower ones. I was finding before, if I had tie-up points close to the hay nets, he was somehow managing to undo these quick release or panic clips. He's quite good at undoing them. Now, these particular windows actually flip out. Let's see. So, because Bo likes to fiddle, we have fitted combination locks for him. Hopefully he won't learn the code, so hopefully this will make sure he doesn't undo it when we're driving along. So they're not fully finished in that they will have gas struts, but if we were at a competition and we wanted to give him a little bit more airflow in the summer, particularly like this week, it's very hot, we can actually do that. Now, they were screwed shut when we received the box. Like I say, unfortunately, my friend's horse used to try and clamber on the tat locker, so she had them screwed up quite tight. What that actually did when we had this storm of rain was the water came in through the window. It's almost coming through the fittings, so we may have to reseal those. We'll see how we go. And then once the water was inside, it didn't really have anywhere to go other than onto the tat locker. But now we sort of reinstated the windows. The last storm we had, the water just ran away because this wasn't sort of clamped shut. So that was a definite bonus. That was quite nice that was an easy fix in that way. But because water had been getting in, unfortunately the seals had sort of failed around the outside of the windows, and the material that was in there, it was some sort of wood fibre surrounded in aluminium on both sides, but the wood fibre obviously had acted like a sponge and it was so swollen. We made the decision quite early on that was going to have to come out. So that was a much bigger job than we first anticipated, because this sort of wood fibre had got so much water in it and it's swollen so much, it was very difficult to remove from the actual frame. We kind of had to sort of chisel it out and lever it away. So that was a really quite big job. We've then used the phenolic board as the main sort of frame, and then we have fitted this is PVC from windowsills, I think, as a bit of a trim. It's easy to sort of wipe down and keep clean. Covers up a little bit of like the glue and the sealant on the wood, because that stuff gets everywhere. As you can see from my hands, it is well, I hope it'll do a job, because it's stuck really well to my hands. I cannot get it off, so hopefully it's going to hold the windows nice and tight and also keep the water out. But yes, so we got gas struts to go on those to be able to actually lift them up. We're hoping that our little setup with the combination locks, one of my little ideas that was, will stop any chance of them being opened. We've had new bars fitted, we fitted new bars, should I say. These came from a Horsebox site, I can't remember the name, but they're stainless steel, and we've fitted them to the actual lorry, rather than the previous ones were fitted to the windows. So when the windows flipped up, the bars went as well, whereas the bars will still be in place, so there's no chance of Bo thinking that he can get out that way, because even he knows he can't fit through a bar that size, bless him. So yeah, really excited to see what he thinks, really. Hoping that he won't play around too much with any of the fittings, who knows. I think without the additional track in the floor like we had to have for the H partitions, that's actually a difference, that these are telescopic partitions, so they lock into a track here and there's nothing down into the floor, so it makes them really quite sort of easy to move. When we're at a venue, I can give them lots of room, whereas the H partitions were a little bit more rigid, a bit fixed where they could go. You had to have a track in the floor and Bo never felt really, I put mats close to it, and he never felt really sort of comfortable sort of travelling on it. He always thought he was going to slip. So that's the sort of big advantage of this one. Also, it's got one sheet of rubber all across the floor, and that has actually been sealed. So pee hopefully will not get down onto, although it is an aluminium floor, obviously we don't want any pee getting on that because it is corrosive over time. So that should make sort of keeping the lorry floor much more hygienic. I have patched a few areas of the rubber mats as we were taking rubber out of a few other places. I did buy some actual full-length sheets. Just get these partitions sort of tied back. It's getting used to everything. Everything's slightly different. They're going to swing now. Just let them swing shut. So yeah, so they move much easier, almost too easy. So I've done a little bit of patchwork where it previously had a few sort of kicks in the mat, so I cut out the damaged areas and then sealed them up. I think that it's a product called Silkoflex I used for that. Hopefully it will hold. And we've also done a little bit at the front. How long that will hold, I don't know. But the idea was we were going to put additional rubber over the top. So it's the patch and then put another sheet over the top. But I'm not quite sure whether we need to do that. I quite like the finish on these particular mats. It's quite sort of smooth. The new mats I've got, the surface is a little bit rougher, I feel, and I'm just wondering whether actually this will be a bit kinder to his tail, because he hates wearing a tail guard and he tries to sort of rub that off. So if I didn't have to, if he didn't sort of rub his bum, then that would be a big bonus. Got the 3 windows at the top, so I think there's going to be more ventilation. It's quite a warm day. I've only got 2 windows open in here at the moment, and I feel quite comfortable. The roof has definitely got a bit more insulation in it. It's not quite so noisy in here as it is in ours. One thing that I'm not 100% quite sure on, I really like our ramp. We had heavy duty rubber put on it, had built-in sort of grips, and I really like that. This one has a lighter duty mat and then has these metal sort of rungs on it, which obviously are easier to repair if they get damaged and just take them off. It's a very steep ramp, and I've actually bought some landing legs, I think they're called. I think they're down in the tack locker. I can show you those in a minute to try and take some of the steepness out of the ramp. But the ramp is a bit quieter going up, so Bo will definitely appreciate that. And the guide doors are slightly lower. So yeah, Mr. Nosy is going to be able to see around everywhere he wants, which I think he'll like. But until we actually put him on here and see what he thinks, could be all change plank because he doesn't like it. Still got a few sort of bits to do. I've still got to do some more trim on the windows. But overall, the horse section now, I'm more than happy to sort of travelling him in. It was all right. It would have been fine to travel in before we started, but once we started on the windows, it was kind of one of those things we actually had to sort of finish. So that was the big sort of rush to get that done, and we were working quite late into the evening doing that because Dad's off on holiday, a well-deserved holiday, certainly after how hard he's helped get this up together, ready for me to go anywhere. Because yes, we had holes in the floor, we had windows missing. It was a bit dire at one point. And like I say, majority of it didn't sort of desperately need doing, but kind of once we started, we found that we needed to continue. We've managed to track down some board like this. It might be a slight colour variation, but we're going to replace it all this side, where obviously it's got a little bit water damaged. But yeah, so overall, been a busy couple of weeks, but it's I am so pleased with it. I'm very excited to take it out, but also very, very nervous because it's a little bit more sensitive than what I'm used to. So it's going to take a little bit getting used to. The Luton is easier to get in because it's lower, because obviously we've raised up, because we've got storage under the floor. But I have up there got an aluminium ladder to help me, because I'm not quite so energetic as my friends, or athletic, shall I say. Really, really, really pleased with it. Like I said, I've always admired it, and we're just sort of putting our own stamp on it, as we've done with every sort of box we've had. Very, very, very excited to get her out and about. We've got a lot of storage. I'll show you the tap locker. Slightly different sort of layout, the tap locker. There's no locker here. It's just the two doors. There's a couple of catches we need to put to keep the doors back. I need longer arms to reach this bolt. It's a workout in itself. So, saddle rack. Now this apparently used to rotate out, but at the moment it doesn't. Whether it's been fixed or it's just stuck, just need to sort of have a look into it. We've got storage right back through, and there's even access from the living, which I'll probably put my boots that sort of end. We might put a partition up through, just to sort of keep the tack bit separate. But lots of room again to store things. Now, these are the landing legs, which we've purchased to go on the ramp. As you can see, it's just got the two buffers. I don't know why it's just got two, but that's what it's got at the moment. So we've got 3 landing legs to hopefully make the ramp a little less steep. We'll see how Bo copes with it. Yes, it did used to have a ladder fitted to get up onto the roof rack. Just see. But that was sort of one of the first things I took off, because it actually used to foul the light and used to break. It used to break the light fitting because it used to come down at the wrong angle, depending on how you were parked. So I've removed that, fitted a new light cover. So I've done a little bit sort of tinkering around, shall we say. New tie-up points. The other ones were quite sort of rusty, but I never used them. But Dad ordered them, so I've fitted them. But bless him, he very much likes things done a certain way. But yes, very, very excited to get her out. And like I say, just love the colour. When you sort of look at it, it doesn't look like that we've done a huge amount really, but it was all very, very time consuming. There's even like in this locker, we've had to put, I don't know how good the video is going to be, aluminium angle to support the floor. There's a hatch here for the batteries. We had to cut that out. and I've stuck a rubber mat on that, fitted new handles. I've still got more rubber matting to put down in here, and we do need to have a look at the other side as well, but that's not quite such a big job. The other side, it's only a small patch that we need to replace. And then the water tank needs fitting, and then water heater, because obviously it hasn't had a water tank, nothing's been used like the water heater, so we need to obviously make sure that's all working, because that's something I do use. I didn't show the bathroom, which is very nice, and I know it has had hardly any use. Need a water tank for that. So that is the bathroom. Yeah, not had much use at all, that. So, but it's something I've definitely used. I do like the comfort of my own box for having a shower. Got full height cooker, although I'm not quite sure it needed a full height. But yeah, it's a very, very nice cooker. Sink, and I have started getting a few sort of finishing touches. There's some rugs in there. You see, I've already put some pale blue curtains up. Really, really bad decision that already, I've found, because I've already marked them. Yes, I might need to get some darker ones at some point. But we got our bedding off the other box, and I was kind of trying to tie in colours that we'd already sort of had, not buy all new, as nice as it will be. There's a lot of storage, got hanging room. The fridge is actually in here, just down the bottom. It's a little bit smaller fridge than on our other box, although when we first had that, it had the same size fridge as that, and we fitted a bigger one. I say my dad fitted a bigger one for us. So yeah, whether we do change to a slightly bigger one, I don't know. But yes, also there's bits that we are sort of still planning to sort of do. There's a few sort of patches, particularly in the underfloor. On the other side, there's a little hatch that needs a little bit of a floor replacing there. Got the internal, or sort of the plywood facing to do. Plumbing the water tank, water heater. Yeah, but I do feel like I think we've actually found all the sort of issues now, hopefully. Like I say, we probably were looking at it very sort of in depth, really. Like, I don't think anything was desperately that needed to be done, but because like we say, we're fitting the water tank, we wanted to make sure the floor underneath that was really, really secure. So that's the reason that we found the floor, and then the other floor, and it went from there, really. And then, like I say, with a bit of water sort of coming in, it wasn't running in by any means. It was just, yeah, you could notice that there definitely water had made its way into it. But any of these vehicles, it's a tricky one to sort of completely resolve. But I think we have now, hopefully. Yeah, very, very exciting. I'm really sort of pleased with what we've done in the Horset. The sort of having that sort of captivated track, although it's quite extreme having the two, it just means that I've got so many places that I can just tie him up to best suit him. Because he's got to make sure. I'm hoping he'll travel better on here. I say there's a little bit more sort of open, bit better ventilation. Whether we'll need our fans, although sort of had my eye on a roof fitting fan to sort of go up there, but I don't know how easy a job that is. But I don't really want to give my dad any more to do before he went on holiday. I'm hoping I can fit our normal sort of travelling fans up along the back there if we need them. But I definitely feel it's cooler in here, whether that's because the windows, the side opening, I don't really know, or it's to do with the roof. But yeah, so maiden voyage soon. Yeah, just got to work out. I got to take it out. I've got to go and get some fuel and get a bit of a feel for it, because she is different from mine. Just sort of manoeuvring her here. Yeah, I need to be a lot softer with clutch control and things. Yeah, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. Yeah, with time. Although it's not much time, because we've got quite a lot planned now. Because like I haven't done any qualifying for summer whatsoever, and then we are due to compete tomorrow. But I suppose I could have taken the old box, but we kind of made a decision that we could only have one of them on the road at a time. So the other one is currently sawn. Yeah, so kind of pushed us to having to get this one up and ready to go. I think we would have ended up with having two here for longer than we should really, because we do need to get the other one sold. So once my dad's back, that's the next thing, is get her on the market, which is going to be really sad, because I do love it. We've had some great adventures in that box, and it's quite funny really seeing both boxes here, like every morning when I walk up the yard, and just seeing them parked up next to each other, because this is often when we go to any sort of stayaways, if we're both there, that this is how we sort of park, and it's just a bit weird really seeing it at your own home. I think even Bo at one point, when my friend drove this one in, thought his mate had come to stay with him, but yeah, he's got used to it now. He was a bit like, why is there another Horsebox? But he's intrigued, and they got very used to a lot of noise quite late at night. I'm surprised we didn't have any complaints from the neighbours when we were running the angle grinder one night at like 10 o'clock, and I sort of suddenly thought, Dan, are we doing this a little bit late? But the horses just didn't care. I've always been like, try not to make too much noise too later in the evening, but they didn't care at all. Yeah, I was so grateful for everything my dad did, to get us in a place that we can actually get to our lesson on Friday. Very much looking forward to it, although I have not done enough work with Bo, to be honest. Done some hacking, but he's had physio. He's had his shoes put on, and then he's had his vaccinations, had his teeth. So he's had a lot of MOT work done recently, bless him. So he's been mainly sort of hacking. So I'm thinking perhaps we should do some more work on our transitions, although I don't think he's going to be thrilled about that, because he finds that boring. But we'll see what Hayley has planned for us. But yes, yeah, it's going to be an interesting venue to get to with a new box. Obviously I know the way pretty well, but you can meet some really big stuff on it, and it's narrow. But I just didn't want the pressure of a competition. It'll be the first time I go out, because that's going to confuse a few people locally, if they recognise this box. So that could be quite entertaining. But yeah, so very, very exciting. Like I say, I've got a few more bits that I sort of need to do. I need to put some more rubber mats in the underfloor. How they stuck those mats down, that was the hardest job, was ripping up rubber mats. And they were just, they used some very, very strong glue. I hope well, I'm not going to stick mats down in there because I think it's quite easy. Well, I like to be able to take them up and check the floors, make sure there's nothing going on that shouldn't be. Right, I think that's everything. Obviously, this is kind of part one. There is going to be another part because we've still got more work to do. But this is the big sort of bits, and obviously the sort of looking at it in depth. And it's tricky when we went and saw the box and had a sort of good look around. My friend said had a really good look. Make sure you're happy with it. But it's not sometimes until you start sort of pulling things away. I became a bit like Wreck-It Ralph, really. I was just ripping bits off to see what was going on underneath. But it's not something you can do when you first go and inspect a lorry. So yeah, a friend was sort of saying, you happy? But I am. I'm really pleased with it. And it was more of a case that we wanted to see what needed doing, and we felt like it was really important to do it now, because I'm hoping we'll get many years use out of her. So yeah, and then like I said, we've done it with every box we had. When we first had the white one, we had a new floor put in it. We did the aluminium plank floor. New ramp. It's had new side panels fitted in the horse section on both sides. We really do like to make sure the vehicles are really up together for what we do, and we go miles if we go into sort of stayaways. Like last year, I think we were up around Birmingham like twice in 1 month. So it's important that you've got full confidence in it. Tyres are all in really good nick. I know it had 6 new tyres fitted not that long ago. So like I say, we knew all its good points and some of its sort of bad points. The big one being it didn't have a water tank, but this water tank we're putting in is smaller than the one on the white box, which is really it's a huge tank. It takes ages to fill, and there's no gauge to know actually, because half the time we don't need to be carrying that much water, but it's difficult to work out how much water is in the tank, because sometimes our pressure at the yard isn't always great, because it's actually spring water pumped in from Spring Head, a few fields away. So yeah, the pressure just varies sometimes, so I'm never quite sure how much water has gone into the tank until it's overflowing. But this is a smaller tank. Obviously we're fitting it in a different position. It was originally fitted, and this is why I think it got removed. I think my friend thought they were taking a waste tank away, but it turns out it wasn't. It was the actual water tank. So this is the water filler here, and we're actually back by the tap locker. So the water tank would have been where they have fitted the hydraulic system. I haven't been underneath. My dad's crawled around underneath searching for a water pump, but it looks like they removed that as well. So I think we've got a new one of those. I've just got to have it fitted, and then we got to get the gas all checked, make sure that's all working correctly. It does have CCTV camera for reversing and also in the horse section. I've currently actually got it, it's just led down there, I've currently got it unplugged. It's a slightly different system to ours. I think ours is a dual-right camera. I'm not sure what make that one is, but the monitor's a little bit smaller. So I'm going to see how I sort of get on with that. It's also mounted quite close to the driver, where obviously most of the time I've got Martin with me, so we'll try and mount it a little bit more so he can actually see, because it always becomes a bit of a distraction for myself, seeing what little troublemaker's getting up to in the back. I'm hoping he doesn't pull the bars too much, or particularly the window fittings is the concern, which is why we've actually, instead of having 4 bars, because there's 4 windows, they're quite wide windows, we've gone for bars right away across. There's 5 window bar sets, to hopefully stop him from getting up to mischief. But who knows with Bo. Yes. So I think that sort of covers what we've sort of been up to. Like I say, it probably doesn't look a huge amount, but it was quite sort of time consuming, and we are not Horsebox builders by any means. My DIY skills, I think, have improved, definitely in the last couple of weeks, but they are, yeah, not great. There's no video of me actually doing anything, I don't think, other than I think I was wire brushing the top of the tat locker. I think my husband did record a bit of that, but yeah, there's no video footage of actually, because I'm bound to be using everything wrong. So yeah, I don't think you need footage of me trying to do any form of DIY. Yeah, health and safety would have a field day probably. So yeah, likewise, my dad's great at DIY, but he's very, very methodical. I think he measures everything at least 10 times before he even makes the first cut. I'm a little bit more sort of, get your material, mark it up to something, make a mark and go for it. So we were having a little bit of discussion on we're not quite understanding how it takes the sort of length of time to do things, but he does such a good job, and he gets it right, and he definitely it looks a lot neater, anything my dad's done, than what I've done. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to continuing doing bits once he's back from holiday. Like I say, very well deserved holiday, and it is to celebrate a big birthday. I won't say exactly which one, but yeah, he bless him. But I think he likes the project, and I certainly like a project, although I feel like I've got too many on the go at the moment with trying to get some out to some competitions, get qualifying done. This is obviously a project which is kind of sort of in some ways sort of snuck up on us, and then I've got Buck, who does need to come back into work. He's feeling very well at the moment. I turned him out this morning, and for some reason he just, I don't know if it was excitement, but he was squealing and charging about, and yes, he's a bit of a live wire at the moment. So we'll see what he's like when he comes back into doing some work, which I think it needs to be quite soon. Start giving him a little bit of a job to do, even if it's just hacking through the summer. So that I was initially gonna leave him a little bit longer, hoping to mature. I definitely feel he's grown, but he just he needs a little bit more to think about, I think. Bless him. And then nobody's actually been on the box yet, so that's another thing I think I need to do, is actually practice sort of loading, making sure that obviously Bo's happy to load and unload, because it's a slightly different ramp. But yeah, I think he'd be right, as long as there's food involved. He'd be fine. Bless him. Top cat would be no problem at all. Although this box is going to be a little bit trickier, I think, to actually take Top Cat. So obviously we used to fit an I for Williams partition, or breaching bar, I think they call it. I don't know that that's going to be possible in here, and also the door to the living is a little bit wider, so he's going to have a little bit less room because he normally sort of ties up on this sort of bit here. We have got some leftover captivated track, which I love. This is probably one of my favourite products I've actually found. So we got 2 bits, so we're going to put one either end, and it also means I can tie down any shavings, haylage if we've got it in here, or hay, and make sure everything's nice and secure. We've got a rug rack there. Initially I was thinking about removing it. I don't tend to put anything up in rug racks, just for fear of it ever falling down, but it's quite handy to put the travel boots in once you're at a venue, so that will be staying. Although I think that tack locker may be a little bit lower than mine. We're going to probably put some rubber on top like we did with the other one. If no other reason, I think Bo will grind his teeth down the metal. He likes to make a lot of noise. Right, I think I have waffled on an awful lot about my lovely new box. Like I say, I'm really excited to get it out, and then continue sort of doing a little bit more work to it. But yes, definitely kind of put my own stamp on it now. So that's it for sort of our tour around the Horsebox and sort of going through what we've obviously been doing the last couple of weeks. A bit of a renovation project, obviously bigger than what we initially thought. But like I say, a majority of it is because we are a little bit OCD as a family when it comes to things and how they're done. So nothing was dangerous or drastically needed doing, but it's just bits we've made the decision to do. If anybody's got any questions on how we went out about doing things or reasons why, any questions at all, please just drop me a message. So the wood that we use to repair the floors, this is phenolic board. This is 18mm. We've also used 12mm in places, depending on what was already there. It's a really good product. I think the sort of the make is buffalo board, and yeah, we've used it on previous boxes, and yeah, it really does stand up to use on a Horsebox. The adhesive I used was something called Silkoflex, so that's what we used to sort of help sort of seal and sort of stick anything we needed to. We find that's a really good product because it never sets rock hard, so it always has a bit of elasticity to it, which on a moving vehicle is great because the box is flexing all the time, and if some adhesives, if they get set sort of rock hard, they do then unfortunately pull away or crack. So we find that's a really good product for that. Just trying to think what else we use. My dad's got a pop riveter, so that's when we took the windows out, we pop riveted them back. We use stainless steel screws. We countersink where we need to. Make sure we got the right depth. We found actually finding decent stainless steel screws at the right sort of depth and length, and yeah, it was a bit tricky, but there was multiple trips to B&Q. I've never been there quite so much, and yeah, where we've had to use any sort of metal, we've used aluminium, obviously for its lighter weight. It's easier for Dad to sort of work with, although I wasn't allowed to use the angle grinder. I was allowed nowhere near that. So yeah, that's the sort of materials we've sort of used. But like I say, if anybody's got any specific sort of questions, like I said, there wasn't really much footage of us doing anything. My Dad doesn't always want to be on camera, and we were really kind of concentrating on what we were doing. So I've tried to sort of show footage of obviously stages, but But yeah, I've got obviously footage of Dad putting the, or a photo I think it is, of Dad putting the guttering up, which yeah, I wasn't going up that high. Bless his heart to go up the ladder and fit that. Yeah, because actually one thing I didn't sort of show is it's fitted with an awning, which hasn't had an awful lot of use, but I'm hoping it's something that we will get some use out of in the summer. But because of the awning and its brackets, that's what was causing some of the water. So I've had to fit an additional piece of guttering myself. I was up a ladder to do that. So yeah, hopefully we're watertight for the time being. But yeah, just excited to get out now, really am. Right, I better continue fitting some rubber mats, and then I got some electric fencing to do. So I will see you guys next week, and I hope everybody's enjoyed our video. Bye.